Welcome everyone to the dedication ceremony today. I would like to start off by thanking everyone who helped and guided me on this massive endeavor. My parents, who dedicated much of their time for this cause. My Eagle Project coach, Mr. Wursman. My Scoutmaster, Mr. Fritz. And Cece, who devotes her energy to this cause and to helping the community. In addition, I would like to recognize some dignitaries and other important people that have come here today. 16th District Assemblyman Mr. Roy Fryman, a fellow resident of Hillsborough. Hillsborough Township Board of Education President Mrs. Haas. My fellow Scouts, and also some of my fellow EMTs at the East Millstone EMS Squad. I'm sure we all know of someone that has been affected in some way by some form of mental illness or just has too much stress in their life. But have you thought about how we can help them, or even if there is any cure for their condition? Mental health is arguably one of the most important yet overlooked areas in society for a variety of reasons. First, there's the negative stigma that we associate with this condition. We often build up the stereotype of the perfect human, someone that does not have any problems or does not face any obstacles. As a result, we are afraid to even confront this issue. We are fearful of what could happen. Second, it is quite hard to affect change in mental health. Unlike other issues, it is hard to find a tangible solution because there is no magic elixir that can fix all of one's mental health issues. Instead, it requires focused, long-term therapy that is hard to acquire for most people. The only way we can even begin to confront mental health illness is to educate that mental illness is not a personal failure. In fact, mental illness is not even an individual failure. Globally, 450 million people suffer from this condition, and therefore it is one of the most prevalent health disorders. Despite this, the aforementioned stigma prevents people from seeking help, and a positive feedback cycle of discrimination and neglect is therefore created. Neglect causes less understanding, and when there's less understanding, there is more neglect. Compounding this problem is the inability of national legislators to form a consensus and take action, especially after tragic events like recent mass shootings. People faced with mental illness are often so ostracized and bullied that they resort to violence because they have no way to receive help. We cannot let this keep happening for the sake of all of us. Certain factions of the government refuse to implement firearms restrictions, so the only option is to increase access to mental therapy. While the government should include this under healthcare funding, there is only so much that can be done by laws and policies. Ultimately, it is up to us to effectively confront this matter. Yes, it seems daunting for an average member of the community to bring about change, but it certainly is possible. Cece is living proof of this. In fact, she has dedicated her entire career to this cause. This brings up the important distinction to solving the mental health crisis. It requires community-based action. The World Health Organization, or WHO, states that mental health care should be integrated into primary care and local initiatives instead of large government schemes. This is why I embarked on this mission. I believe in community-based mental health therapy, and likewise I believe in the cause of Spring Rains of Life. By providing this shelter to horses that work in equine-assisted psychotherapy, I am increasing access to this service to community members that need it the most. At-risk teens, children, and war heroes who have returned from serving our country but unfortunately have suffered psychological trauma. But just because my project has been completed doesn't mean the mission is over. To increase access to therapy for community members in need, there is much to be done by both you and I and our elected officials. Change doesn't come on its own, and when it comes down to it, there is no reason why we cannot take action. Improving the community doesn't require millions of dollars. It doesn't require having an advanced degree in biochemistry. It doesn't require being a congressperson and arguing all day. All it needs is one heart and one mind that can work for a cause. I am convinced and believe that we all have what it takes to contribute to expanding access to mental health therapy. In fact, I believe that we can create global awareness and erase the stigma from right here at home. Let this project be the catalyst of that cause, and let this not be the end, but in fact the very beginning of this revolution. Thank you. Now, I would like to welcome 16th District Assemblyman Rai Freiman.
I love being here. So let's have some candid conversation. Get an invitation on a Sunday on Labor Day. Wasn't the highest thing. I said, but then when you started to read about what this is about, I said I had to be here. Because one of the things that we do in our office, one of my beliefs is that we have to solve our problems by not traditional thinking, but thinking differently and acting differently, and different approaches. And this project and what you've chosen to do is so different and unique, and it expands the opportunities and the potentials. So I want to just spend a minute talking about the mental health and then your achievement. I couldn't agree more that we need mental health, behavioral health is an issue that has gone way too long of being stuck back and not coming out, and the stigma associated with it. We have got to make it much more comfortable for people to address the issues, to talk about them, and to increase access to different therapies and different care. You're correct, it has to be done on a local basis. It has to be done in the home. It has to be breaking down the stigmas within the home and the families and the extended families. That's ultimately, in the acceptance, that's ultimately where we need to go. As an elected official, we absolutely need to support that. And this year I was very proud to be one of the supporters and sponsors of a bill that requires insurance companies to treat mental and behavioral illness identically to that of a physical illness. Wow. To finally get past that. Because God forbid someone is diagnosed with cancer. Insurance companies don't say you can only see your physician 10 times. But for years, that's exactly the kind of thing that's happened with mental and behavioral health. You were limited as to how many times you can see a practitioner, not how much is it needed to cure. We have a lot we can do. It impacts everyone. Every household it's gone to a point where when people start talking about it, I say, yes, somebody in my family, or me, or my children, we all know somebody that's been impacted. So I applaud you for bringing this out. And the uniqueness of utilizing animals and horses. And my wife is a huge believer that not horses, but dogs can cure almost any problem. So she's a big believer in that. Whatever ails you, you need a dog. That's her go-to solution. So I want to now recognize you there are a couple of different ways that as an assemblyman, I get a chance to recognize people for their efforts. We can do citations, we can do accommodations. The highest level of them all is something referred to as a resolution. And this is actually a joint resolution between the Senate and the Assembly. It is signed by the Speaker of the Assembly as well as the Senate President. It is recorded with stamps from both clerks of both houses. Essentially, by receiving this, someone is now a part of New Jersey history. It's a big deal, and I always point out, and I remind my staff, and they know this, one day I hope to get one myself. But it is an honor to present you with this Assembly resolution and encourage you to continue to be a leader as well and all the success in the world. So thank you so much, and thank you for being a part of this. Good.
Thank you. It's the
Congratulations.
And I would like to present you with this token of appreciation for coming here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Next, Cece is going to give some information about our program.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I will say thank you, Aravind, because I am still so blown away by your understanding and your deep roots and how this all works, and it's a perfect fit. When you took this project on, I thought, great, we're gonna get a shed. The horses really need a shed. But when I heard you speak the first time, I realized you really do understand this, and you understand what we're doing. So for the rest of you, to give you a quick, we're actually gonna show you a little bit. We're gonna do a little bit of a demo. But just to give you a little bit of my background and how I got to this. So I was working in New York City I had an apartment with a view of Central Park, and I was working a corporate job in New York doing my horse habit. I had a retired event horse who was in Appaloosa, and I had a brand new horse that was gonna be my Grand Prix dressage prospect. Through some really weird events, I shouldn't say weird, through some interesting events, I was led to EGALA, who certifies this work. EGALA stands for the Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association. And they are international. There's over 4,000 members and I think 500 programs around the world. There's a program in every state of the United States now. There's I think 6 or 7 in New Jersey. We were one of the original programs in New Jersey. So I found out about EGALA and how horses could help people with all kinds of problems, and I was kind of like, that's interesting. Wow, let me look into that. Well, I got into it, and I finally figured out what I was going to be when I grew up at 39 or 40, something like that. And what happened was interesting. I didn't expect it, but as I got to do the work and I got to bear witness, I consider myself a conduit or a facilitator. The horses really are the healers and the teachers and the miracle workers. So I got to witness all 800 veterans that came through our arenas and all 1,300 teens and several other private clients. And I started seeing things that I will call miracles. And I got addicted to that. So as the savings disappeared and the 401k was not that big, it was gone quick, the credit went down, everything, all my resources were disappearing, and I realized I don't care because I am now an addict and I have to feed this addiction any way I can. So basically I've recruited people to help share in this mission, to see what we do and believe in it, because it can't stop. So how the miracles? Well, I work with a licensed mental health professional depending on what we're working with. I always have someone who's licensed New Jersey to do the sessions with us. So for our veterans work, I have a veteran, Army veteran. She's a PsyD. Her name is Dr. Maria Katsamani. She does all of our veteran sessions. Erin Rahan is an LCSW, specializes in teens, does a lot of our teen work. And so what I like to say is, okay, with the veterans, there's a suicide epidemic. There's 22 a day, they say, but I believe it's higher than that at this point. And something needs to be done. So what happens? So when people come in our arena, we work on the model of EGALA is solution focused. We really believe that all of our clients have their answers inside. They just haven't had a chance to explore it or find out what that is. We believe that, yes, their PTSD might change your brain, and we work with all trauma. All of the clients we see here are trauma-based. It could be anything from domestic violence to combat PTSD. So it's really runs the gamut. We work in a group format. But basically, the EGALA model is based on 4 tenets. It's on the ground, we do not ride. Most people, when I started advocating about this, oh yeah, I heard about the riding. No, we don't ride. What do you mean you don't ride? We don't ride. We're working on mental and emotional state, where we are. Horses are present moment beings. They're always in the present. They're also prey animals, so they're very good assessing their surroundings and what's going on. I have one horse that's an actress. She will pick up on something going on in the group and act it out physically, and we can say what's happening with that horse now and let them decide. Let the clients peg that, and it usually is their own story. So we work on the ground. So there's no riding. It's not that riding's bad, it's just we're really focused on what's going on with the people. And when you have a horse under tack and they're on their back, you're controlling what they're doing, so you're not really seeing what their messages might be. It's a team approach, so again, mental health professional, equine specialist, certified horses. They don't need any training, they're already horses. I do make sure that they're not aggressive, fighters or kickers. That doesn't mean that they don't bite or kick, it just means that they're not prone to that. And also, it's a solution focused, it's experiential. So, veterans show up and they're here for an hour and a half to 2 hours. For that hour and a half to 2 hours, scientifically it's been proven that if you're within 20 feet of a horse for more than 5 minutes, their heart chakras, their heart center is so big. Heart Math Institute and other research studies have proven that all your biorhythms normalize within 5 minutes. Breathing, heart rate, skin temperature, pupil dilation, all that stuff goes to normal. They've also proven with blood tests that cortisol levels go down and oxytocin goes up. So cortisol is our stress hormone, oxytocin is our nurture hormone. That's what makes us feel safe. So there's something to this. Can we do it in one session? Can we help someone with severe trauma in one session? No. We probably need somewhere between 8 and 12 sessions. But the idea is that if there's funding and availability out there for people who are suffering trauma in New Jersey, and talk therapy is not working, and drug therapy is causing side effects that cause suicidality, there's other options, and horses might be the answer. We've had a lot of people reduce medication after being with the horses. I have a mare that I call a $4 million mare because I know for a fact she's saved 4 veterans' lives. They've told me I'm here because of that horse, or 2 of their wives told me actually, but 2 veterans. So there's something to this that really works, and there needs to be more research, more experimental, more people trying. Hey, like if there's a big thing with human trafficking right now, if we could get groups of human trafficking survivors in this arena with the horses, I know that we would find some very interesting solutions, and they would be able to kind of deal with that on their own. So I could go on and on and on, but I want to get the horses in here so you can kind of meet them and see what they do. And so I guess we'll go to that. Is everybody good with that? Okay, so I'm going to ask that you stay seated. They are used to chairs. Someone might need to guard the food. So basically, I have someone to help me with this, but I don't have a mental health professional here today. I tried really hard, but because it was Labor Day weekend and a Sunday, I couldn't get someone here. So I'm not going to run a demo where I ask you to participate because that wouldn't be okay. But what I am going to do is I'm going to have you guys stay seated, and we're going to bring the horses in, and maybe I could grab somebody like Garrett, who's already signed a release form, or a couple of people that I could say sort of show us what happens. But I'll talk a little bit about what happens typically in the first 15 minutes of a first session, just to give you a little snapshot of how this works. And if anyone doesn't feel safe or needs to maybe leave, that's okay, meaning stand outside, that's fine. But just know that these horses have worked with thousands of clients on the ground with some severe mental health. So I guess we're good, right? All right, so yeah, can I have
CC 1 second.
Before we do the demo,
Sure.
Mr. Wursman is giving a speech, I believe, and Mr. Fritz about Boy
I'm
Scouts.
sorry. Wait on the horses. I'm so sorry, I didn't. Thank you for correcting me.
So I was Aravind Scoutmaster and Eagle Mentor Coach, and he came to me about 2 years ago about this wonderful project, and as CC mentioned, I saw the passion in it. I also, after reading it, I thought it was a wonderful idea. I think it's a great thing what you did for the community and just for society. Because there is a awareness that needs to be brought to this. You hate to see what's in the news every day, so something like this is wonderful news that should be highlighted. I worked extensively with Aravind when he first came in the troop and up the ranks, and when he asked me to be his Eagle Mentor, I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity, and was thrilled to help him. Initial thoughts was like, this is a very big task for a scout. But he didn't surprise us. He got through it and did a great job, allowing the community to learn about it and fundraising and getting the project executed. I'm going to let Mr. Fritz, Scoutmaster Fritz, talk a little bit about why, maybe, why we're the Eagles, why we're here.
So the history of scouting has always been one of service. It started as a service organization, and throughout the century that we've been in existence, it has provided community state and national service to the area. And the Eagle Scout has always been someone who is ambitious, which Aravind clearly is, someone who is a natural leader, and someone who has the capability and drive to bring a project like this in its unique way to the community. A year ago, we had a fundraiser, and I believe there's a video on Aravind's Facebook page of me saying it's a big project, and we'll see where it goes. He surprised us. He did very well at generating community interest in the facility, and he brought an awareness that is really an exceptional part of the Eagle Scout project. Now, to give you an idea of what Eagle Scout projects are, they are typically something that the community is good for the community, sorry. And, you know, building benches, things of use, not typically high profile projects, but things that are of decided long-term capability. And this project has not only been all of that, but it has increased the actual, instead of the details of just providing shelter for the horses, it has provided a larger scale issue with the program, with the mental health issues, the awareness of what a community can and should bring into it. And Aravind has done very well in bringing all of that together. So with that, I say, Aravind, congratulations. I think it was very well done.
We appreciate it. You on this side. Put it there you go. There you go. Good. Now with the horses.
Okay, yes, I got excited, I guess. Thank you, yeah, but it is very important that we have the support. We're volunteer run, so, and we're, you know, we scrap for money all the time, so anything that comes in the way of support, not even monetary, is awesome. All right, so can we have the three that I told you? So they probably will be curious when they first come in. They'll just maybe nose around a little bit. Just if anybody feels uncomfortable, just put your hand up. I'll help out. The other part, how I pitched this too is that we also have 3 donkeys who haven't started working yet because they're a family. So, meaning I had a mom and a 4-month-old daughter that was gifted to me by the owner of the farm the first Christmas we were here. That following spring, Mom starts getting really big. And I go, oh no, I'm feeding this donkey to death. But really, she was getting ready to give us another donkey. So now we have 3, but they haven't worked a lot yet because Mom has either been nursing, pregnancy, birthing, weaning. She's been a mom full time the entire time I've been here, met her. So this winter and into next year, we'll start introducing them to the work.
How old are they?
The mother's about 6, we think. The daughter is 2, and the boy, I know for a fact, is 11 months and 1 week. So if you maybe just take him a little bit that way, away from the tables, and you can let him go. And then is the other one coming?
In 1 second.
Okay. That's all right. So generally when clients come, and a lot of our clients have never been around a horse before, so that's why this isn't that, oh, he went right away. Right away.
Do you want?
It's Sunday.
So most often, our clients have never been around a horse before. If you picture, we work with Hunter and Youth Services, and that has at-risk boys from all over the state, most of them from inner city neighborhoods. They've never been around a horse. So having horse experience or anything like that is not needed. Uh-oh.
Oh, well, stuff happens.
Stuff happens, exactly. Anyway, so the first thing I might say when clients walk in the door is to say, you know what? I give a safety tip. We have one safety tip that we use, and that's usually make enough space until you feel safe, because that's how horses will stay safe. I used to be crazy and had 11 things that I would tell people. I'm a horse person. There's all these things. You have to stay safe. What I learned was that put someone with no experience with horses into danger, because they're like, am I supposed to back up, stand still? I forgot. So I boiled it down to one thing, and that's basically make enough space till you feel safe. That space might change as we go. Watch them. Notice what they're doing. So the first 5 minutes of every session we do is called Notice What You Notice. It's what do you see, what do you hear, what do you smell, hopefully not what you taste, but I've had a couple kids try. But that is getting present. So when you're in trauma, one thing you don't have is present moment. You're constantly being plagued by the past of your trauma, and the future is a scary place. So there is no present moment, and in order for us to start working on any of the mental health issues, we have to get present. So it's really hard not to be present when you have 3,000 or 4,000 pound beings meandering around you. You kind of get present real quick. But also when I say to a veterans group, just go out and notice what you notice. And then about 5 minutes later, we'll check in and say, what are some things that you noticed? So it's non-judgmental. It takes them out of their own head and into the horses. Well, I noticed this one is antisocial because it keeps walking away. I noticed this one is like a dog because it rolled on the ground. You know, they might say any number of things, and all the answers are right because it's their perspective. The next thing we might do in a first session is say, once they've had some time to get comfortable and be in this space, we'll say, all right, so maybe pick out one of these. And at some point I start calling them horses. I might say, pick out one of these that you're drawn to or you resonate with in some way, and go get it and bring it back to us. And then we might walk over to that corner, myself and my teammate. And the look on the face of most people is kind of like, okay. But after how do we do that? Well, there's really no right or wrong way, just explore. And so then we continue to cut off, basically, no more conversation, just figure it out. Little by little, they figure out a way to get the horse that they've chosen to come to us. Or not, maybe not. It's not always important that the task is completed. It's more about the interaction and the thought processes that go through to doing that task. So first session might be something that simple. We keep it low key, not too much because it's a lot. But if we're working in an 8-week group or a 12-week group, you can imagine we work sequentially. And if it's with the same clients, we're able to build a story, build a process. And so we work through things that can get complicated, like build an obstacle course. And when you're done, let us know, and we'll add the second part. So they might build the obstacle course, and then we'll say, okay, someone's gonna be blindfolded, and you're gonna have a horse. And someone else is gonna be your help, and someone else is gonna be your hinder, but you don't know which one is which. So you can set up at the beginning of the course, and then we'll figure out the rest, okay? We go and figure out in the group who's gonna help, who's gonna hinder. So the helper tells the truth to keep that person on course, or on track. We use a lot of metaphor language. If they've used a name, like let's say, for example, I have a teenager that said, this horse is just like my bitch mom, okay? Well, we call this horse bitch mom. That's become her name until it changes to something else. But that way they're able to start to see if they're seeing those similarities in that horse on their own, then we're just gonna follow that and see where it goes. But so helper hinder is a great one for teens, especially teen boys, because peer pressure. They get themselves into a lot of trouble by listening to the wrong voice. So the hinderer could be the one that's lying, telling them, turn right, when they need to go straight. They can't see, they've got to know. So that's just one example of one activity, and we've got hundreds. It depends on the situation and what's going on. A lot of times I have a plan, I always have a plan of what we're gonna do that day, and then the horses come in and go, nope, we're doing this. In the beginning, that made me crazy because I'm trying to make sure I do everything right? I learned through them proving me wrong that if they have an idea of what we're supposed to do that day with the group, follow what they're saying. So I'll give you one quick example of that. We had the women's group from Lions here, this was like in 2016, and we were at a different farm actually, and I had all these barrels in the arena and poles and cones and all this stuff set up in a clump in the middle of the arena. We were gonna build this intricate 3 spaces, pre-military, military, post-military, and then have the horses go visit those spaces. That was the plan. When we went in the arena, the horses one by one laid down. Not everybody at once, because somebody's got to be on watch. They're a prey animal. They're very high alert and at ease. It's very easy for them. So not everybody could sleep at once. So one would be standing, and the other 4 horses in the arena, and 3 would be sleeping. Lay down, go to sleep. Then one would get up. The other one, it was like this. So I'm sitting here going, okay, we're running out of time. We're running out of time. We need to get to this. We need to get to this. And finally, the women started to go to where the horses were and curl up with them and lay down behind them and petting their backs. Everything got really quiet. And we ended up doing a 2-hour group of horses sleeping, standing up, sleeping. Finally, all 4 horses laid down, and somebody said, we're their watch. So then we started talking about who's got your back. How do you know you're safe? A lot of the women that come from the hospital are MST as well as PTSD, so that's military sexual trauma on top of possibly combat trauma or some other PTSD with military. So a big issue for this group that day was that they couldn't sleep because of things that happened to them in the military at night. So the horses picked up on that somehow, and they made that 2 hours about rest and sleeping and getting rest and taking care of each other and making sure that someone's got your back. I was in tears at the end of that session when I started to hear the things that they were saying to each other about the horses. So that gives you an idea of kind of how deep this can go. And of course, after that, I learned my lesson. Always set up, always have a plan, but if the horses do something different, back up and let them do what they need to do because they know. So, does anyone have any questions? I think they're kind of on chill mode right now. But I'm really happy they're not over here. Anybody have any questions about them?
What are their names?
So other than veterans, I don't introduce them. If someone asks me, I will tell them because I feel really weird going, well, I'm not going to tell you. But I let the other clients, I try to let them figure out what they could name them. But with veterans, I introduce them like I'm going to do right now because it's really important to build trust. Name, serial number, rank, who are you, where are you from? If we're going to go in a ditch together, I need to know who you are, right? So I will pretend that you're veterans and this is how I introduce them. So I'll say, okay, welcome to our herd. The horse standing right in front of you is named Junior Miff. She is a 19-year-old quarter horse mare, registered. Her former career before becoming a therapy horse was a brood mare, which means she's a professional mom. I know that she's had 7 foals. The horse in the middle facing us, the brown one, is named Siriana. She's a 14-year-old thoroughbred mare. She never did race, she's not tattooed, but she's bred for that. And she just nodded. and she's been with us from the beginning. So Miff joined us in 2015, and she's a rock star. Siriana joined us, she was one of our founding horses. The horse, the white horse that left us a present and then went over there, his name is Dane. He's a mare, so he's both females, he's a gelding. 20 years old, lip is honor. Lip is honors were the original war horses back in medieval times. General Patton, I always like to tell our military, General Patton was very involved in saving the lip is honors from Nazi Germany, from Hitler. Hitler really wanted them. And they spread them out all over Europe and hid them until the war was over. So I like telling that story because now we have a lip is honor that's helping warriors find home. So that's our crew today, and that's what I usually will tell about them that way. And then the rest I say you're welcome to explore anything else about them that you might find.
What is the typical age of the horse class?
Generally 25-ish. One of our founding horses received a National Medal of Honor from the VA, and Plaintree lived to 31. He passed here actually in 2018. So I felt like that was kind of a good age. But we had another horse that was rescued that belongs to the owner that passed away this spring, and he was 44, best guess. Best guess. Teeth were kind of so bad we couldn't really tell anymore. So it depends, I guess.
Where did you get the horses? Are they generally donated? You said one came.
Yes, so the white horse was my Grand Prix dressage prospect. He was not a rescue, he was a purchase. But he's morphed into being an amazing healer and teacher, and he's still a really nice horse to ride. He's just not, under the spotlight. But he was my personal horse. Siriana is adopted, but not really a rescue. She was chosen. And the day I was moving to Pittstown to start our program, she jumped on the horse trailer and said, "I'm coming with you." And I was like, okay. But she's the $4 million mare I mentioned. She's the one who has saved, that I know of, for veterans' lives. Probably more than that. And Miff was at the last farm we were at, and she'd been retired from making babies, and so it turned up that she kind of needed a home. And we had lost one of our mares, who was a famous, she had won NJVMA Service Animal Hall of Fame award. She was in Chicken Soup for the Soul book, but she was crippled up front, broken neck, broken legs. We survived that somehow. And veterans used to hang their canes on the fence when they would work with her because she took no pity and no prisoners. But I have pictures of many canes sticking in cones or on a fence, but they're like, not this horse, but if Straw, I have videos of her, if she can do it, because she'd walk like this, I can too. When she passed away, we needed another mare to fill that hole, and Straw was also a quarter horse brood mare. Just so happened that Miff had all those qualities, and it's very similar to her, except she's got good legs. But, so she joined us 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, today, oh my goodness, Miff, congratulations. Today is Miff's 5-year anniversary from joining our program. She joined us on September 1st, 2015. Look at that. And she's brilliant.
Do you ride any of them for exercise?
I should be the white one when I have time. It's my mental health, but it depends. I basically work an 80 to 90 hour week, getting paid for about 12 hours. So anyway, so I would say this, they're really in a calm mode right now. If anyone does want to walk up and say hi to them, pet them, you're welcome to do that. I thought if they came in here and there were a little live wire, I would keep the distance, but if anyone is curious or wants to go up and say hi, sure. And then I think, are we going out to the shed?
Yeah.
Are we? Okay.
Is that a door over there?
Is that what?
A door?
That is a door, yes, it slides.
Open it outside.
Wants to go in.
And he seems to know that's a door, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you said you went into this.
His USLR registered sport horse name is Father's Mystical Night Dane.
I still figured it had something to do with it. You said, well, I had to buy a previous, I said, I'll play with my money